Okay. I'm back. So, let's see. Hopefully people can find where we're going. Hi, Lisa. Yep, I'm back. I have no idea what happened, but everything went kaput, and now it's better. I just had to restart my computer. Okay. So Lisa, you refreshed the YouTube page and this one popped right up. Awesome. Very good. Okay, well, I will start doing some sanding here while we're waiting for people to show up again. Awesome. Hi again, Mellow Yellow. Hi, Terry. Hi, Mina. Well, I'm glad it didn't take me very long to get everything going again. I have no idea. I know that sometimes, like if you build up a static charge and then touch a camera, it can lose the connection, but I don't know what was going on. I had all kinds of weird things with my program, so. Alrighty. Just work on sanding down the rest of these guidelines here, now that we're ready to use them. Awesome. So glad people are finding their way back to the chat and the video. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so very glad that you guys are finding your way back to the next video. I appreciate it. Let's see. Lisa, you seem to remember that I did a blog on pricing and selling and wondering if that's in the Bear Den. I'm not sure. I don't think anything like that is in the Bear Den, and I'd have to take a look at some of my other blogs that are available. Hold on one moment. While people are filing in, I gotta let a kitty cat out. Come on, kitty cat. Hi, here you go. You can come out this way. Okay. Alrighty then. I am back. So I don't know, Lisa, I'll take a look at that. I know that I did some blog posts over on the Woodburning University site, but I don't think anything like that has transferred over to the Bear Den. I'll need to take a look. Terry, you've been trying all week to get some drawing or burning in, and something always comes up. I totally relate to that. Sometimes it can be quite the challenge. Welcome back. Hi, Estella. Thanks, Marguerite. There's just sometimes that we have these technical difficulties. But I think that's a first where I've had the camera just disappear. Let's see, Vivian. You sent me an email. Okay. You need help with Popcorn's portrait. Okay. I'll take a look at that. Right. Oh. All right. So let's, we'll do a little bit of recap while people are still filing in from our delay. Stay, Mr. Camera. Okay. All right, so over the last couple weeks, we've been following the system that I really like. starting with the eyes and then moving on to the other main features like the nose and start blocking in the mouth here. After we put that in, then we go back towards the eyes and start laying in sort of the direction of the fur that goes outward from the eyes. Same thing, focus on the nose and really just focus right here in the expressive area to get that kind of started. And then the next session we came back and we went up here and we started working with the coal wood, which was fun, and putting in some of these darker zones. I love the coal wood for putting in these long wispy hairs. That worked out really, really well. And then the next session, we really spent a lot of time over here in this mane. We also put in that structure underneath the chin. These whiskers here are way long, but that's okay. We'll just keep sneaking that dark area up into those whiskers. And got a good start on the shadow of his face. So since we have such a good start on the mane, I think we're going to jump over and do something a little bit different. And we're going to work on the lamb today and kind of block in the areas around the lamb. When we look at our reference photo here, you can see there's quite a bit of darkness all the way around the little guy. So I'll work on putting in a little bit of some of that dark area, because in order to create something light, like the highlight on the sheep, you really need something dark behind it. So that's, I'll start on that. I'm not going to put in a solid outline. I want it to be kind of soft and fuzzy, kind of blurry to mimic the fuzz on the sheep. Yeah, so we'll work on that and then we'll dive in here to this really interesting texture as well. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out how you guys can see everything that I'm seeing, and my reference photo is not cooperating, so maybe there. Okay. I think I'm going to probably start with the Versatool again, just because I'm quite comfortable with this one. I need to be a little bit more precise with the edging here, and just gonna kind of be careful. I love the coal wood for the fur. I'm still trying to figure out how to use it in more confined areas. Hi, John. Okay, so if I need to zoom in, please let me know. We're going to start along this edge. And when I transferred the outline of the sheep on, I kind of went outside of the white fur to give me a little bit of a buffer zone, so it doesn't wind up looking like the sheep is smaller than it actually is. Alright, so as I get up into here, I'm going to start using more of a kind of a back and forth fur stroke. Thanks, John. Yep, the lion is coming along pretty well. So the face is pretty smooth, but I really want to capture that fluffiness around the outside. Okay, now I do have some fur strokes back here, but I may or may not put those in. We'll see. And we'll just kind of start creating the space around the sheep. Because in this sense, the sheep, especially the highlight, is the negative space that we have to burn around. Lisa's asking if I'm doing a solid or going more like fur. I am doing some fur strokes in here. I know most of this is going to be quite dark, but I am still trying to put in some fur-like motions. I'll try to tie it in where we added the fur already. So I just realized that there's a fan going. Let me take care of that really quick. It's not a very good fan. Oh hey, I bet that helped our sound, didn't it? Okay. Old rinky-dink fan is making lots of noise. Okay, but yeah, just right here along this edge, I'm going to try to be as careful as I can. Thanks for the reminder, Mina. Yep, definitely make sure that if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that, and then click the notification bell. That way, when I go live, or if I have troubles like tonight and have to restart, you'll know. All right, so all along in here, it's going to be kind of just rough and bumpy. Might zoom in a little bit more so you can see how that edge is a little softer. Lisa, yes, I did say earlier that I'm doing the monthly challenge for April on Wednesday and not Friday. I am not available to host a live stream next Friday, a week from today. So, and every other day is pretty well booked. The only day that I have next week will be Wednesday. It'll be April 1st. Same time though. So instead of putting in just a solid outline for this lamb, I'm just building the fur behind the lamb. And same thing in here. This is going to be kind of soft and fuzzy as well. You can come down on the paw and lightly put that in. For something like this, I definitely want to keep my lines light to start with, and then I can always darken them up as I go. But I don't want to come in with a harsh point and just outline the sheep and outline the paws. For a more realistic look, I'm going to sneak up on everything and keep my line work quite light to start with. Okay, let's see. Mina, that's a great point. Today is the 27th of March. You do still have time to send in your flower challenge for the month of May. For everybody that's over on Mighty Networks, we do a monthly challenge each month, and March is a flower. I have flower patterns for you, or you can create your own. That's fine too. Just a flower, and then you submit that in the monthly challenge section, and at the end of the month we just draw a random winner and the winner gets a free pattern of their choice over on Woodburning University. So just fun and helps people get kind of, you know, get creative and practice a little bit on some different subjects. And the month of April, we are going to be doing seashells. Beginner, intermediate, and advanced seashells. Hi, Elizabeth. You are very welcome. I'm glad that you're here and that these lessons are helpful. We had a little bit of chaos at the beginning of this live stream with a non-working camera, but we're back, which is good. I was really getting frustrated. I didn't know what was broken, but I'm glad that just restarting the computer was the ticket. Okay. So a lot of this area behind the lamb will be made darker later. But that gives us kind of a nice starting point for the little guy. Okay. So he's sleeping, and we're just going to put in a nice line right there. Make it a little bigger on the downhill side. And then pull this down. Okay. So light sketching on some of the main features. And all of this down here is pretty dark. But even though it's going to be dark to start with, or dark eventually to start with, I want it to be lighter. That way if I get off of my lines a little bit or need to make an adjustment, I can while things are still fairly light. Yes, indeed, Vivian. Terry, yeah, I agree. It's amazing, all of the beautiful flower projects that you guys have created this month. Just awesome. I love how everyone is different and just so unique and fantastic. Okay, so we can start making that a little bit darker. So on this one, I just really have to trust my guidelines because everything here is quite abstract with this position. Okay. Let's see. Come back to that eye and all that hair. Well, maybe a little bit. I'll shade a little bit at the top. Kind of soften that a little. Okay, let's go put in the shadow inside the ear. A lot of times I like to look for the next darkest area other than the main features like the eyes and the nose. Terry, you think it's a great idea that we came up with just pulling a name out of the hat? Yes, absolutely. yeah, I can't select a winner for the monthly challenge project, and that's not really, what I want to do. I want it to just, be have fun with the project, participate, jump in there, and just random winner. And I think that's a fair and honest way to handle that. So I send in my guidelines pretty well here. This, the head has 4 strokes pretty well, and then it kind of evolves into more of the wool. Okay, next we are kind of a combo here of 4 strokes at the base of the ear, and then we're starting to get into a little bit more of that wool texture. So for right now, I'm doing kind of that dot slide technique, and I might zoom in a little bit more. Because this little guy is so small. Hopefully that helps, and then I will fold this in half and try to get you closer. And now I need tape. Okay. No. Stay. Okay. Thanks, Rick. Yep, it was fortunately an easy fix to get the camera going again. I think it was something actually wrong with the program and not the camera. So yeah, this is kind of like a little bit of a dot slide technique in here that I'm starting with. And then we have a couple little first stroke areas. Everything about, I don't know. Oh, come on. Now I'm having tape issues. I guess it's just one of those days, guys. But we just go with the flow here. But since the lamb is white, we gotta really sneak up on our values and everything. Just be extra cautious and thoughtful as far as where we're putting in information here. Let's see. Lisa, you found on the blog. Okay, good. You found that article. Awesome. Vivian, you and Terry agree that the challenge for you to come up with an image is a great learning experience, not a competition. Absolutely. Yep. No. And, it's always fun, to win a little something. But it's not a competition. I love seeing everybody's different and unique projects. Drawing a winner is just kind of a fun bonus. All right. A lot of this is kind of just that gentle dot slide. So I set the point on the wood and just carefully slide it one way or another as I am starting to very gently lay in some of these areas. Oh, Barbara, you were tied up at a 3-day painting workshop this week. Not sure you'll have anything ready this month. That's okay. That's fine. It's, and you can always go back to those monthly challenges and make a burning of those later. Thanks, Truth Seeker. Yep, if you like this content, go ahead and give a thumbs up. It always helps the YouTube algorithm. And so I'm definitely diving right into the ugly duckling stage on this one. Just getting going and trusting the process here. So for those of you that are new, that the ugly duckling stage is something that I've always thought that happens in every artwork that I've ever made. And that's where you've started and you've spent a significant portion of time, or even if you just started, and you get a little bit kind of frustrated or maybe disheartened or just overwhelmed with a project, thinking, I've spent a lot of time on this and it's just not turning out, and maybe not turning out as fast as you'd like. And so that's oftentimes an easy time to quit and park your artwork and then not come back to it. But it's really important to remember that the ugly duckling stage is just a stage. Every single art that I've ever done has that ugly duckling stage, and you just have to understand it's something that you have to push through and not give up on. So it's like, oh, I've got, the lion's looking great. I'm not so sure about the lamb. It's okay. Just breathe. And just keep burning. Trust the process. Start with your dark areas, put in the texture, and then slowly start developing more and more midtones. And that's where this little fellow will come to life really well, is when we add those midtones. But before I add midtones, I like to get all of these other areas really in place first. So if you are struggling with the ugly duckling stage in your artwork, don't worry, you're not alone. Just keep going. Just keep burning, or just keep painting or drawing, whatever it is that you might be stuck on. All right, so I'm starting to develop a little bit of that wool texture there. It's almost like a really sloppy pointillism as well with this. Just really focusing on some of these areas that are quite a bit darker. Elizabeth, you're working on a project and timing yourself this time to see how long it actually takes. Time does go by. Yeah, it's a good idea to see how long it takes you to do artwork, especially if you start pricing and selling your pieces later. Steve, yes, this is the reboot of my earlier live stream flop. So thanks for your patience on coming back to the new live stream. Let's see. Barbara, you're talking about the ugly duckling stage in your paintings as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just happens. Yep, absolutely, Truth Seeker. Yep, just keep going, and it'll all work out. And if it doesn't work out, you'll probably have learned something along the way as far as why it didn't work out, and then you can kind of adjust and modify that if you try it again. Hi, Kim. Vivian, you go through more of an ugly Jabba the Hutt stage. Oh, that's funny. Yep, I've had some of those projects as well. Okay, I'm gonna darken up the inside of the ear a little bit more, and then maybe a touch more. All right, now we can softly add in the darker area within the ear. All good?
Yeah, we're good. We're freaking loud, but I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm not hearing anything out there.
We're trying to be quiet, and we're just over here, like, trying not to laugh.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
You're good. So I want a really soft and fluffy feel for the inside of the ear. You might notice how pretty scratchy right now the whiskers are on the lion's chin. That's because I'm using a lot more texture up there right now. For this, I'm going to be rocking the point down and trying to use just a really soft approach to this. As we've talked about before, if you rock the point up, you can get a lot of sharp texture. I don't want a real scratchiness for the inner ear, so I'm going to drop this point down, or you can pick a different point, whatever it is that you need to do to get a softer feel. Oh boy, that made a mess. Hi, Bobby. And then I can go back and add in a few more layers there. But there's going to be quite the backlighting to this one. And we can kind of close in on that later. Because right now you can see that that part of the ear is pretty big. But we'll blend it all out. It'll be good. Barbara, you have a sheep farm near you and you're watching the ewes and the lambs. Awesome. Yeah, they should be showing up here in our area pretty soon as well. Spring is definitely here early. Okay. I'm looking for other of those topography zones to start putting in. But still trying to keep everything nice and light. Okay. So I can slowly start darkening up some of these main features as I continue to add more and more layers. And once we add some shading underneath that mouth, that should look a little bit better too. All right. This is kind of like a combo of larger fluff. right, getting a little bit more form starting in here. And we're just going to keep building more and more layers. Anytime you're wood burning a white subject, it's can definitely be more of a challenge. So I'm trying to really match the direction of the fur right now. Wool, but it, you know, on the head here it looks more like fur. All right, yeah, once we start adding more of these lighter midtones, it'll come together a little bit better. So I'm starting to put those in, and it should soften and blend things more. Yeah, Vivian, the white critters are sure a challenge. But just keep looking for more information that you can add. Like there's a little bit of a tiny bit of a shadow along this side. So I can soften that up a bit. And you can see I just keep turning to follow the direction of the fur. It's not the best hand position, so I apologize for the kind of going back and forth here, but I am blowing on the point a little bit just to kind of cool it down. It gives me a little bit more control in some of these tighter, smaller areas where it's really light. If you have a wood burning tool that has the adjustable dial and you're not comfortable with operating full heat like I am, just go ahead and turn that down. It'll certainly give you more control in these lighter areas. And turn the wood, that would help too. But I'm being a little bit stubborn, and I'm not. Let's see. Truth Seeker. How do you know what you should price your artwork for? That's a tough question. You figure time, quality, and size obviously plays a big part, but you looked on Etsy and see a wide range of prices for various works, all pretty high. For example, you see a 4x4 basic black outline of a teacup or a flower, and they are selling it for $70. Gotcha. Pricing is a little bit of a kind of a tricky conversation, but it's not really a tricky conversation. It's more of a tricky like, how do you calculate that? There are so many different factors that go into pricing artwork. Some of it is skill level. Some of it is, you know, the end result of the project. Some of it depends on the artist themselves, if they're more well known or if they're a newer artist. Newer artists tend to charge not as much or can't really get as much for their artwork, in contrast to some artists that have been more established and have been selling their artwork consistently for a while, but still they usually start pricing their artwork a little bit lower, and then steadily over time you increase your prices. So that plays a big factor. Also, the size of the project, how much time you have into it as well. The demographics, you know, where you're selling. I live, you know, I go an hour that way and it's Aspen, and I go an hour that way and it's the desert. So you can probably charge more in a ski town than you can in other demographic areas. Let's see. So there's lots and lots to consider when it comes to pricing, and each person's pricing is going to be a little bit more different. I would say start at a price where if you want to sell your work, people will gobble them up and keep you busy, especially as a new artist. That allows your skills to grow. While people still are getting a nice piece of artwork for not very much. And as your skills increase over time, you can slowly start raising your prices. When people slow down buying, then you might want to stop, you know, raising your prices and just kind of settle there for a little bit. If you have a lot of amazing artwork and nobody's buying it, you might be priced too high. Or, as you know, I've heard other artists say, add another 0 to your artwork and see what happens. And that's kind of scary, but sometimes people want a really expensive project. So I hope that helps. There's a lot to consider when it comes to pricing art. I mean, you can set up calculations and all that, but if people don't buy, could be your price too high or too low. So, and you can ask people around you, you know, what do you think this might be worth? And kind of go from there. I'm gonna get dizzy. Hi, White Wolf. You're welcome, Truth Seeker. You're 4 months in and learning a lot. Good. Yeah, take this time whenever you start a new medium, unless you're a really well-known artist that can switch mediums and still retain a higher price. Generally, when you start a new medium, especially as an unknown artist, it takes some time to build up your inventory and your practice. And all that. So enjoy that learning process, because it can take a little bit of time. But as your skills grow and you get more well known, then you can start charging more and more for your art. Unless you do something crazy and tape a banana to the wall, then you can get millions apparently, which is kind of sad for us normal art folk. Oh, there we go. We're getting there. And breathe. Okay, so let's take a look here. That's a little bit more of a true angle for you. So I definitely need to take my values darker, but we're getting a pretty good start here. think I want to add a few more midtones here and there. There you go, Lisa. Let's tape vegetables to the wall instead of fruit. Another thing when it comes to pricing artwork, I will say that generally people will pay more money for a custom order than they will just something off the wall of, you know, something else that you've made. I, over the years, have had to set my commission prices quite high just because I had too many people wanting custom orders, and I was trying to, you know, write books and do DVDs at that time when I couldn't do both. So I wound up charging quite a bit for my custom orders, and obviously, you know, the number of people that could do that went down, which afforded me time to work on my educational stuff. But I still get commissions here and there, you know, maybe 1 or 2 a year, and that's fine with me. Because I like creating, you know, more of my own work, but I do take commissions now and then. And that's the most I've ever charged is for commissions. I've got other, I think, better work that I've done, and, you know, it's still sitting here because it's maybe priced a little bit high. But just finding that balance in there can always be a little bit of a challenge. Okay, just looking, we need a bit more down here. What have I got going on here? Okay. Anyway, working on that. Let's see. Yeah, the weather is definitely crazy, everybody. It's just pretty scary. We've already had, you know, seen smoke on the horizon from fires nearby. Okay. Right. Ugly duckling is driving me crazy. I'm kind of chasing it around here, but that's okay. We'll just keep going. Take a step back, make some adjustments. And if you try this project and you think the sheep is going to be the more difficult of the two subjects, start with the sheep. And then if it is a problem, you can always sand it down. Let's see. Night Owl, you usually charge twice what it costs for the materials you use to make a picture. That's good as well. Let's see. Lisa, you did struggle on saying you do custom pyrography when getting ready for this retail site. You're okay with custom, but you don't do portraits or pets. Gotcha. White Wolf, you usually charge the amount depending on how many hours it takes. Yep, that's a good way to do it too. I've done something very similar. Like a lot of times I can tell that, you know, 8x10 project is going to take me, you know, 8 to 12 hours, and I charge accordingly for that. All right, well, we're going to move over a little bit. I've got the sheep's head kind of roughed in, so let's keep moving on here. Oh, thank you, Terry. That's good to hear. I got some issues with that sheep that I need to fix, but I'm going to move on. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, Elizabeth, you still have snow in Wisconsin. You have 2 feet of snow 2 weeks ago. Oh, wow. Yeah, we should have between 4 and 6 feet of snow right now, and it's been dry for a week or two. And the grass is growing, which is very scary. All right, next up, I am going to start looking for dark zones, the darkest zones in here. And I'm going to put those in with a really soft edge. I'm not going to heavily outline them. And they're probably going to be lighter than they should be to start with. So this is all kind of dark in here. Aw, thanks guys. Truth Seeker, you're getting all rain in Toronto and no snow anymore. Is that normal, or do you usually get quite a bit more snow at this time? All right, blocking in all of this area here. So even though it's pretty solid black down here, I'm still going to be using the some sort of a textured stroke here. And I can come back in and make that darker soon. Where am I? Oh, I'm over here. Thanks, Truth Seeker. We're getting there on this one. This is a big piece. It's, I think, 10 by 13. So anytime that you have this much real estate here, it takes a while. It's funny, my dad, when he's an oil painting artist and he does landscapes, sometimes he'll paint, his paintings are like 4 by 8 feet. They're really big, and he calls it painting by the acre at that time. And I think about that often when I'm working on a project. I know this seems really small in the art world, a 10 by 13, but when it comes to a realistic wood burning, this is a pretty big piece, just because this is such a slow art form, and it takes a while. All right, in here, as I'm coming back up this area here, I'm kind of liking the dot slide more so than the wiggle worm technique. I think the dot slide is giving me a little bit more control, and it's softer. But we'll see how the texture turns out. We might do some of that zooming wiggle worm as well. All right, and then we're going to pick another zone to work on. So the softer the texture is going to be, the more I'm going to rock that point down. And then we'll just keep looking for new zones to lay in. And this will be our overall guide for moving forward. And as I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I'm leaving some of that unburned wood in there. That'll really help with our highlights later. And as I'm filling in an area, still just dot, slide, dot, slide, dot, slide. I'm being quite random with my, see, just like that. Now if it was just a dot, you can do that too, but I want a dot slide kind of a technique in here. What? Oh, messages. Hi Donald, you're wondering if we can show you the difference between the dot slide and the wiggle worm. Yes. Hold on a minute, let me turn this over. Okay. So the dot slide is going to be, I've got the point quite flat on the wood. I'm not rocking it up and using that upper tip, and I'm not laying it completely flat on the wood, but almost completely flat. And I'm going to do a dot, but with a slide. So it's just kind of a little, almost looks like little pieces of confetti. But when you put it all together and you go in different directions, it can create really kind of a neat mottled texture. It's almost like a blurry pointillism. Is that dot slide, kind of like that. It creates just a really soft, fluffy pointillism. The wiggle worm technique is, especially if I have larger areas to fill in, you set the point down on the wood and you move it quickly, and you just go around and around, and you change directions quite often. And you wander around like a crazy little worm that has no idea where they're going. Now, if you have larger areas, this works really well for a neat texture. It can work quite well for wool. I've used the combination of the dot slide and this wiggle worm technique here as well. And the more that you go over an area, you can start developing your the deep recesses of that wool, excuse me. And you can just keep building up layers, and you can do gradients with it and make an area a little bit darker, a little bit lighter. So either one works. This is such a small area that I'm going with the more controlled dot slide technique, but you could certainly do the wiggle worm as well. So that is the difference. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have more questions or want more clarification, let me know. Thanks, Marguerite. Yeah, it's fun. If you have, oh gosh, like tree bark can be a fun one for that wiggle worm texture. Anytime you have something just really random and quite crazy where you need a lot of texture, that's a good one to use. You can use that with all kinds of different points. It's good with the flow point, the mini flow point. So a lot of fun. You're welcome, Donald. Okay, let's see. And then with that dot slide, I can come back in and spend a little bit more time with the burner on the wood and not move it so quickly, and start building up some of these darker areas. You can hear me tapping on the wood for that dot slide. It's kind of like a chunky dot. Okay. Once I get to a point, I kind of like to go back and give myself more room for the midtones by readjusting the shadows. So I'm going to come back in. I know a lot of times we've talked about that airplane mode, and every time that you put the burner on the wood, you land and then take off for a smooth transition. When you wind up working in a dark area like down over here, in that motion, like I'm doing the wiggle worm right now, and I'm going to leave the point on the wood because I don't mind those stop spots, those little dark spots that show up when you change direction. That's okay in this instance. So you can just leave the point on the wood and build up those values. Terry, you like the tapping? Yeah, my mom can often tell when I'm working, when I'm burning, when we're talking on the phone. She's like, "Are you burning?" I said, "Yep." She's like, "I thought so." She can hear the tapping as well. Vivian says, those two techniques work perfect for the little lamb with the little curls or a small poodle. How would you apply it on a large animal that has larger curls? That's a tricky one because there are so many different types of curls. Do you have a specific animal in mind? As for like an example? A lot of times with the larger curls, you might just have to burn around the curls. A bigger poodle. And so I know we did a poodle hair study a while back. A large white poodle. Gotcha. And we worked on that large, it was like a swatch for poodle hair. Focus on the dark zones first. Build those up, put those in, and then start with your darks. Find the little recesses where the fur looks deep, where you can sink your fingers into it. Where you can sink your fingers down into the depths of the wool here, those areas are going to be the darkest. The highlights, the bumps, are going to be the lightest and the closest to you. Yep, I should have known, Vivian. And then as we get down here, we're getting into some softer things here, softer areas. So I am kind of jumping around on this one. Kind of like a dog chasing a squirrel tonight here. Okay, so we push those darks a little bit. Let's continue with our dot slide. Looks a little bit like confetti, but we'll just keep adding more layers. Well, guys, I was hoping to get the lamb and done tonight and start on the paws, but with our delay due to technical difficulties, we'll probably wind up just trying to get the lamb done tonight. Okay, and so even though now that I have a lot of texture in here, then you can come back in with that wiggle worm if you want and add a little bit more interesting texture. And so just mix it up. And I like the combination of those because I think it makes a bit more of a random appearance. You can even do like circles, just round and round and round circles to fill in some of the shading of the mid-tones in this area. All right, dot slide. All right, so this fella is pretty rounded here. And it does take a little bit of time, as you can see, putting in texture and filling in this area with little dots. But we're just going to keep on going here. We're getting over to our highlight zone. And if I find myself hurrying too much to block in an area, I'll make myself stop and go to a different area. It's almost like I'm grounded. If I'm rushing and I'm getting kind of sloppy in an area, okay, I say stop, move to a different area. And that kind of helps slow me down and makes it so I don't get a really repetitive pattern. So this is kind of a wandering worm technique now, just kind of zooming around, putting in some of these darker recessed areas of the wool. But as you can see, a lot of times people ask, well, what technique do you use to create this or that? And as you can see, a lot of times it's multiple techniques. Like in this instance, there's several. We got the dot slide, we got the wiggle worm, and now I've got just kind of like this meandering, more of a slower little worm. Then you can do circles if your shading is a little bit off. But you can see that I'm still leaving these bits of unburned wood or lightly burned wood in place. If I come in here and I just start shading all of it, it's going to be really flat, and then I'm going to lose that unique wool texture. Where am I? Oh, here I am. All right, so we're coming down to the last 30 minutes of this session here. Let me know if you have any other questions as far as what we're working on here or other non-specific questions. I know we're taking quite a bit of time to lay in this section of fur, but you know, there's so many values and layers in there. Once we get this in, the rest of the sheep will kind of blend together and it should work pretty well. We should get this finished up tonight. Yeah, this is a good time for that wiggle worm to go in and really put in some of those darker areas. we can add more layers, darken up certain areas. What? Okay. I'm gonna start adding in some of the soft, fluffy stuff here. Okay, we can do some circles in here as well. Just to add a little bit more shading with texture. All right. Tap, 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 tap. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm going to come up here and start putting in some of that softer areas as we get into the highlights. Let's see. Elizabeth is asking, do you plan on adding color to the piece to make the bright white pop out more? You certainly can, especially if it's something that's backlit very strongly like this. White is always a fun way to add just that nice extra dimension to your project. So even though I'm still on full heat, just by making very light contact with the wood and moving it quite quickly, I'm able to get these lighter values here. But again, if that is something that that you're not comfortable with, turn the burner down, take advantage of that dial, or blow on the point. I do that a lot. I started, the first burner that I had was just on or off, and it didn't have a variable a temperature thing, and so I wound up learning how to burn on a tool like that, and to make the lighter areas I would just blow on the point to cool it down. And so I still get in the habit of doing that instead of messing with the temperature so much. Wow, Marguerite. Well, I'm sure glad that that you guys are getting some moisture out there. Sorry to hear, though, that you guys are flooding. We are in a severe drought here. It's like, why can't we send some water this way? We'll take some of that. So this definitely has some longer strokes down here. Oh, Marguerite. Yep, that sounds great. Just make some snowballs. Put them in the mail. Send them on over. Although I think we'll need a whole lot more. I sure wish you guys could send snow. This is very scary. Very scary fire season coming up. Let's see. Alrighty. We're getting close on blocking this in here. Yeah, it's way dry. I think we had less than half of our normal snowpack in this area. Other parts of Colorado were down to 20% of the normal snowpack. And that's very scary. Okay, well, let's see here. I know once we get the pause in, that will help with our overall sheep. So definitely have a little, some more layers to go on this fella, but we're getting pretty close as far as blocking it in. I think I need to bring some of the darkness up on the backside a little more. So lots more layering, kind of like the lion. It needs a bit of touching up as well. But let's see here. We got 20 minutes. I think I'm gonna work on some of that darkness back behind. Oh, come on. No. Too much tape. So I also have the that little Pro Point that I made Thanks, Marguerite. Yeah, I was really trying to make that little guy pretty fluffy. And I'm going to continue building our darks back behind the sheep a bit more. And then we have some of these little V-shape inverted upside down V areas with the fur. So we can darken those too. Awesome, Mina. Thanks. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, we're getting there on that. And we've got kind of a fluffy paw here. So maybe I don't know, just kind of jump around here a little bit for the next couple minutes and block in some of our other areas. So here we have a shadow underneath the paw. Thanks, guys. Where am I? I am here. Okay, let's see. Not the best direction. Okay, now we can see, like, you know, we've got something holding the, or not really holding, but kind of around the lamb. Thanks, Marguerite. Yeah, and that's really what I try to do, is break down what we're seeing into easy to follow little baby steps is what I try to do. Try to put you know, little building blocks together to create the end result. But that's this. The lamb is a great example of understanding that we need oftentimes multiple different textures to create the illusion of an item. And we'll just start blocking in the paws. That's probably what I'll be doing next. I changed the tip. This is one that I made. So I took the shading point and I just made it smaller. So this this one here used to look like the big one, and I just took a Dremel tool and made it smaller. So it burns a little bit darker, burns a little hotter, and it allows me to get some of the darks in place a little bit quicker. But it's the Mini Pro Point. I was working with Walnut Hollow to get it manufactured, and then they went out of business. So basically, yeah, Marguerite, I ground it down to the shape that I wanted and then just kind of polished it. I had to remove a lot of the upper tip of that to get it down to this size. But I love the shape of the shading point. That's what I use for the majority of my work, although I just got the Coalwood Super Pro and I'm loving that for these bigger areas of fur. I have not been able to take much time to practice with it. So for some of these areas that I need more control, am I out of the frame? Sorry. Some of these areas where I need a little bit more control, I am going to stick with the points that I know and am comfortable with. Okay, let's see. Oh, no, that's what I was doing. I don't know. I'm jumping all over here, guys. Yeah. That's what I was doing before I got distracted. Adding more in behind the lamb. So another reminder that I will be rescheduling next week's live stream. I will not be able to host the live stream on Friday. That's a week from today. But I do have an open night on Wednesday, April 1st, and we will take a pause on this project and we will switch over to our monthly challenge. At the beginning of each month, I have a little challenge project that we create. Last month, or this month, is flowers. Last month was feathers, and April is going to be seashells. So I'll show on Wednesday, April 1st, how to create 3 versions of a seashell: a beginner one, an intermediate one, and then a more advanced. And I should be able to get all of that done within the 2-hour time frame, because it's a study, so they're going to be a little bit smaller. Awesome. Yeah, Marguerite, that shading point with the Versatool is my favorite. It's generally, I have the most control over work with that one. And I continue to experiment with other points and other burners. And, you know, it just comes down to a learning curve as far as what you're comfortable with and how much time you practice with your certain tool of choice is really what makes the most important thing. There's no one magic tool for everybody. You know, people hold the points differently. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm using this little pad whenever I work with the Versatool, because the grip is so far away from the burner. It's kind of ergonomically difficult to use unless you have something to prop up your hand. So I always use this little bean bag under my hand when wood burning with the Versatool, because then my wrist is straight and I don't have, wrist pain from burning. Whereas the coal wood, the razor tip, and those wire based burner pens, I don't have to use this little pad. Terry is asking if the monthly challenges are all going to be on Wednesdays or just this one. Just this one. As you guys know, I'm coaching again this year, and then with the Easter holiday and all that, I'm booked on Friday, and I don't have any other days but Wednesday. But I plan on keeping our monthly challenge the first Friday of each month. That's my plan. And then life happens. So I almost did the monthly challenge tonight, but I didn't have enough time to give you guys a heads up, because I just took notice of the calendar this afternoon. I'm thinking, well, this isn't going to work to do a live stream next Friday. But by pushing it to Wednesday, that gives you guys the weekend and everything. If you want to burn along, you can get your project prepped and ready to go if you want to follow along during that project. Mm-hmm. Bugs. Marguerite, you made one with a sock and rice. Yes, absolutely. I've done that as well. Those are handy. I had one of these for years and it finally got a hole in it, and I had to make, same as you, sock and rice. Am I still in the frame, guys? Yeah, there I am. Okay, and then we can even start kind of sketching in a little bit of that main area. Let's see, where am I? Here. Here. Okay. But let's see. So I think it will be April 10th before we get back to this little lamb project. Lisa, you're going to be watching it after because you're in church. Gotcha. That's okay. Yep. And I really appreciate everybody's flexibility on the schedules. There's just a few months in the spring where I have to really switch things around on occasion. Just starting to sketch a little bit more of these fur areas. I'm trying to tie in, you know, chunks of fur from the top that come down to the bottom. We'll see how that works out. And if it doesn't work out, we'll just make this area down here a little bit darker and kind of hide those. Marguerite, yes, this is basswood. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'll host when I can and try to give you guys a nice heads up that if there's a change, unless something just comes up, like I fall. Like a little bit ago, a couple weeks ago, I had to cancel that afternoon because I was hiking and I crashed and hurt my arm. But usually I try to give you guys more advance notice if there is a schedule change. Lisa is asking, while you are finishing up, do you ever frame any of your non-live edge pieces? Yes, I frame a lot of the ones that don't have the live edge. And it's difficult because I have to get, they're called Z-clips. They're a certain little thing. I don't think I have anything up here. I don't have them up here right now. But yeah, I had to really figure out a way to frame them because they're not easy to frame. Marguerite, you will love basswood. It is just a beautiful, wonderful surface to burn on. Wow, sorry, I didn't know that was going crazy. Kind of overexposed. So I guess, do we have any questions at this stage? We'll zoom out and try to get a little bit more of a bird's eye view on our project here. Ow. Hey, that's turning out pretty good. Pretty cool. We can obviously start pulling these shadows upward a little bit. Lisa, how to frame. You're wondering about a lesson on how to frame. Yeah, that is a very good point. I know I did how to add a sawtooth hanger to a Woodburning, and I put that on, that was a YouTube video, but I could certainly do a lesson on how to frame an original Woodburning. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to continue to pull this shading up a little more. Hi, Larry. Glad that you're here. We had troubles. I had troubles. I had technical difficulties big time that ate up almost the first half hour of the live stream, unfortunately. So I had everything perfect. Everything was on and working just fine and dandy. And then I moved, I think, my webcam into position, and yeah, everything went toast. You saw that, Larry. Okay. But Larry, since you just showed up, the schedule change for next week is I will not be available to host a live stream next Friday. I will do the monthly challenge next Wednesday. So April 1st will be our monthly challenge, same time, from 6 to 8 here, Mountain Time. And we will be working on seashells, on how to burn beginner, intermediate, and advanced seashells. You're welcome. So live stream Wednesday next week only. And then our next live stream will be April 10th, and we'll continue working on this project. All right, and I'm just kind of adding a little bit more in here while we have a few more minutes. I do apologize again for the technical challenges tonight. So you can see how I have this really unnatural chunk right there. I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit here. Whee! Yeah, right there. That's a big unnatural chunk. So I'm going to bring the dark areas up into here and kind of start splitting it into pieces and then shading in between. And now I just took that weird chunk and made it look a little bit more realistic just by burning around it. So if you do step back and you see unusual or odd areas like that, just know that you're not done. Just keep working a little bit more, and it should all come together. You are welcome, Marguerite. Glad that you found it helpful and learned some fun new techniques. And for those of you that are interested in the monthly challenge, that is on Mighty Networks. That's our paid online platform and community. There's different tier levels. You got gold, silver, bronze, silver, gold, and diamond levels. All of those levels will be able to access the project and the pattern for the seashell project for the monthly challenge. If you're not on Mighty Networks, you can get the seashell project. You can buy that pattern over on Woodburning University. It's like $4.99. It's not much. And then you can follow along during the live stream next week as well. But if you're on Mighty Networks and part of that fantastic community, you get the pattern included with your membership. So thank you, Mina, for adding the link in there to our Mighty Network community. So many awesome things there and wonderful people. Let's see. Wow. Yeah, pine is a challenge to burn on, for sure. Let's see. Lisa says his beard makes him look like Scar from Lion King. It does a little bit. Yeah, we'll tone that beard down a little bit. It's needing a trim, but that's okay. Hi, Lynn. I am operating on full heat on the Versatool, so it is maxed out, and I tape it down so it doesn't move. So full heat. Yep. Ooh, that is a great idea, Mina. So Mina suggests that on April 1st, when we do our April challenge, I will announce the winner live for the March challenge. Yep, absolutely. Wonderful idea, Mina. Thank you. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much. We will pick this project back up on April 10th. So make sure to mark your calendars. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and then turn on notifications, and you'll be notified when I go live so that you don't miss the fun project. And look forward to seeing everybody on next Wednesday for our seashell burning. Thanks, Michael. Cool. All right, well, if you have any other questions, reach out either through Mighty Networks or Woodburning University, and we will see you guys all next Wednesday. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Good night.